G'day and welcome to another big edition of the MCDFNL Football Show, looking back on the first week of the 2017 McDonald's MCDFNL Final Series. My name's Yeendy, I'm joined by Shane and what a big weekend of finals we just had.
Yeah, it was. There were some great games across the weekend, a couple of blowouts too, which we'll talk about shortly. But all in all, it was a good reflection for the league.
Certainly was, mate. We'll look at a game that sort of, I guess, went relatively close, and Talbot's big win over Trentham to the tune of 26 points, 13-10, 88 to 9-8, 62 in an elimination final on Sunday. And I guess when we're sort of looking back from last week, we did expect this one to go relatively close, and it could have gone either way, and it did. But hats off to the Hawks. They really they put the acid on the Saints for most of the game.
Yeah, most definitely. It was certainly the match of the weekend across the finals. All credit to Talbot. They played a terrific game, a consistent game, and they deserved the win. They've been plugging along quietly, I think we've spoken about over recent weeks, and they've popped up here at the right time of season. They've made it through the first week. They'll now progress, obviously, to the second week. For Trentham, unfortunately, I think going out in straight sets will be a disappointing season for them in the end, I think. It started out promising. We
did have the expectation that they were so close to that top four chance, and then they slip out in an elimination final, which our expectations, no doubt their expectations were high, and they didn't deliver.
Yeah, that's right. I think towards halfway through the season, we were saying they're looking good there in fourth position, up there with the other top three clubs, and they were sitting pretty. But then things sort of started to get a bit of a wobble then, and I think going out on the weekend probably sums up their year.
Yeah, I think the loss was at Newstead on a Sunday, going back about a month or so ago. That was probably the tipping point for them, because it was a game where they were expected to win, and Newstead kept their finals hopes alive by having a really good come from behind win. That's probably, if you're a team that's going to contest for the top four, you should win those games. And you look at this contest here, Talbot. I mean, the old premiership quarter comes to fruition in the third term. They kicked 6 goals to 1 in the third term, and all of a sudden they've got the game and almost wrapped up at 3/4 time.
Yeah, that's right. You're spot on there. The third quarter's where it all happened. There was only 13 points in it at half time, but Talbot went bang, so to speak, as they say, and Trentham tried hard in the last quarter. They kicked 4 goals to 1, but it just wasn't enough to get them over the line. And I think all credit to Talbot on a great win. Well done to them.
Exactly. Definitely going about business very, very quietly. A game that probably got a little bit more one-sided than we expected in an elimination final perspective. It was Royal Park, 14-13, 97, defeating Maryborough Rovers 5-5, by 62 points. The game was virtually over at half-time. It was 34 points of margin, 7 goals to 1, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, when you're only going to kick 1 goal up until half-time, you're never going to win the game, and that's what happened with Rovers. Look, Royal Park had a good, consistent game across the 4 quarters. The result obviously reflects that, and it was a really confident win and a good confidence boost for the club as well. So they move forward to next week. Rovers will be disappointed. They showed a lot of promise, and they were thereabouts, but just couldn't make it happen on Sunday.
Probably another team we've spoken about throughout the year that had a lot of potential, but when it comes to the big occasions, they couldn't quite lift.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there's probably dropped a couple of games through the season that they should have won, but they've had a reasonable year, but to go out first week of the final is always disappointing.
We turn our attention, we wind back the clock to Saturday afternoon. We had 2 big qualifying finals, and unfortunately they didn't live up to the hype that we were expecting. We had one of the games, Carisbrook 15-14, 104 defeating Natty Biella 6-9, 45. Well, it was 10 goals to 1 at half time, and I guess you mentioned before, you kick 1 goal in the first half of a final, you're never going to be a chance.
Yeah, that's right. And for Natty's case, you kick one goal in the first 3 quarters, you're never going to win. Carisbrook had kicked 10 goals before Natty had kicked their first, and that scoreboard pressure, if ever there was any. It was a disappointing result in the end. Probably the 2 games. The other one we'll talk about. We sort of talked them up, and the results through the year showed that these were going to be really terrific games. They were going to be close. But I think what's probably borne out of the weekend, which should probably give a shift shiver to the other clubs is those top two clubs really showed they are the top two clubs, and they made a really, really strong statement on the weekend.
And we could try and be optimistic to think that perhaps Natty be able to a red-hot chance, and this was the game to do it. Unfortunately for them, they didn't deliver. Good to see Bilton. He stepped up with 5 goals, and Luke Treacy kicked a lazy 3 on the weekend, but they've been doing the job week in, week out. Now, the battle between first versus fourth, we expected to be closer on paper, but Navarre just doing as they pleased. 22-10, 142 to 5-7-37. Another game, Shano, where it was 1 goal in the first half from the losing team. This is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. And look, I don't know that there's anything you can say about it. It just happened. There's no rhyme or reason why it did. The only thing that happened was Carisbrook and Navarre just really wanted to show everyone how good they were, and it showed out. Navarre just ran rampant on Saturday, and they did as they pleased in the end. They kicked 9 goals in the last quarter. 9 goals won, which a lot of clubs are happy with as their final score.
Yeah.
They've kicked that in the last quarter. They didn't ease off in any way. They really, really put the screws in and showed Harcourt what they're capable of.
And as we've discussed in recent weeks, mate, they've been one side that has just gone on with the job. Some sides be content to win by maybe 14, 15 goals if that's the way the game pans out, but they put their foot down, and if they can win by 20 goals, they will.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And I think, Carisbrook and Navarre obviously are straight through to the prelim finals. Should they win that and play in the grand final, I think it's just mouth-watering for everyone that what that grand final is going to be like with those two clubs if they keep going the way they are. But they've still got to win another game before they get there. And there's some other clubs there who are going to have a say about that result, and they'll be trying their hardest. So whoever gets the grand final, it's going to be a good game, as you would expect. But we've got a couple more weeks of good football to come.
Definitely right there. Well, thanks to McDonald's. This has been the Week 1 review of the 2017 final series. Shannon, thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to catching up with you later this week.
No problem.